Good evening, Real Progressives. This is Geoff Ginter at Real Progressives. It's Wednesday, November 7th at 8 o'clock. We just had our midterms. I've got my phone. I'm going to try to keep up with comments today in a way that I don't normally. There's a few things I want to impart. First and foremost, I am exhausted. Anyone that is politically aware, and there was a lot of races that were really close, that were really tight yesterday, including the one in my district, in District 3 of New Jersey. It just, it's going to go on forever. It might even take days, but you just can't go to bed. Just can't do it. God knows I tried. Everyone else in the house is asleep. Everyone else is telling me to get over it. And I can't. So anyway, I just want to apologize. I didn't really prepare for this show. I knew I wanted to talk about the election in general, and I normally prepare a bunch of slides and videos and this, that, and the other. Not so much today. Not so much tonight. Tonight, we're just going to talk. Tonight, it's just you and me. So first and foremost, if you've got thoughts about the election, just let me know. I'll periodically look down. And Santiago, I am just dandy. Well, we got our progressive clocks cleaned. Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. The first thing that I want to talk about is engagement. If you want to have the things that you want in your community, it's not just going to happen. No one's coming to save us. Absolutely, positively, no one. Not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, no matter how much I love her. She is but one person. Bernie Sanders cannot save us. Even if these people wanted to, they can't. There's nothing that they can do on their own. It's window dressing is all it is. So what have I been saying for months and months and months? Decisions are made by those who show up. And the oligarchs always show up. Every day they show up. They are organized and they've got money. That's all they have. Plus, a feeling in their heart that says everything belongs to them and the rest of us can go fuck ourselves. But by and large, they've got their money and they've got their organization. And that is powerful. But we've got the numbers. We have the numbers. Now, the numbers are fractured. The numbers are isolated. And that's by design. We've talked about this before. We'll talk about it a little bit more again tonight. But we are divided. We are isolated. Progressives are isolated. Neoliberals, conservatives, I'm talking about just the rank and file citizenry. However you identify yourself, there is more that unites us than divides us. But there is one overarching thing that does truly keep us separate from one another. And that's the economics. I see it every day. Every time I sit down to have a conversation with someone about modern monetary theory, about the economy, about how it actually operates, I get people that would normally be against us. And at worst, I get someone who turns out to be someone who simply won't fight against us. They were now actively saying, no, I don't want single-payer health care. I don't want a federal job guarantee. These things are wonderful, wonderful. In a perfect world, of course, we would have that, but the world is not perfect. Don't you understand about arithmetic? Don't you understand how the federal government works? Don't you understand about your taxes? They're operating in a gold standard world. So when we actually have a conversation about how it actually functions, the worst thing that happens is that these people turn into the type of person who says, well, I don't know about that, and then they think about it and they think about it and they think about it and say, well, okay, you're probably right. And then it turns into, well, you're definitely right. And the worst case is that they still don't kind of like the idea of these programs. But when they realize they're not going to be losing from it, they'll benefit from it. The worst thing that happens is they stop fighting against it. And they'll stop pushing back and laughing at and mocking potential politicians who would stand up and advocate for these things. That's the worst case scenario. When you have real conversations with people, not online. Again, it's very difficult to have these conversations online. We're very immune to facts online. If you're in a conversation with someone and it turns into an argument, you've already lost them. 80 to 95% of the time, as soon as that becomes an argument, you've already lost them. Just throw up some articles from economists and move on. But when you're actually talking to someone, it's a whole different ballgame. Our attitudes change greatly. The way we view one another is vastly different. We don't see each other as enemies quite in the same way. We don't see each other as cold, incalculable little ones and zeros. We're people. We're human to one another. It's a whole different dynamic. So everything changes. Everything changes. So the worst thing that happens is that these people no longer are in opposition. That is leaps and bounds forward in the direction of allies. They're almost there. Because in their heart, they already were. But almost an entire lifetime's worth of being told that you need to be self-reliant, that the government is coming to take everything away from you, that for every dollar that they spend on social programs, that's $1 out of your pocket. They've been told all this shit because the oligarchs want them to believe it, because they don't want us fighting against the oligarchs. If we all band together and we all say, no, we want a federal job guarantee, we want single-payer health care, we want free education K through PhD, we want 100% green energy. We want more federal funds going in towards research and development to make sure that we get the technologies of tomorrow to help deal with the mistakes we've made in the past. We want all these things, and the oligarchs don't want to do it because all of these things empower us. It doesn't enrich us, it empowers us. And if we are empowered, then we don't need them. We don't just simply blindly do whatever they say. That's what they don't want. They don't want our money. They don't need our money. They don't give a shit. They understand how the economy works. They want the government's money, to be sure, so they can get more, but not so they can spend it, so they can hoard it and they can acquire power. They want power. And for anyone that's looking for power understands that if I have it, you can't have it. So we need to change that. And that takes people coming together. People stop fighting against one another, squabbling over scraps. If we all realize how the game is actually played, come to realize that we all want the same things, come to realize that we all know how it actually happens, how the federal government finances itself so that these things are possible. Very, very eminently doable. And suddenly, they're in shit. And they don't want that. Because they can't fight against that. They can't come up with a cogent argument against single-payer health care. They can't come up with a cogent argument against the abolition of fossil fuels and the rise of green energy. They can't argue against any of this. They will lose because the entire argument is predicated on the notion that we don't want to do it because then we lose power. How does anyone come up with an argument like that with the expectation of winning? We don't want you to have these things. We want you to be desperate so that you will keep crawling to us. That's not a winning argument. So they need an argument that says, Look, I would love to do these things. Of course, we would love to do these things, but we just can't afford it. The debt and the deficit are just unsustainable. What do you want from us? This is the way the economy works. We can't do anything more, than how the economy works. Look, okay, fine. You want something for yourself, you're going to have to stimulate the economy, and we're the job creators, so you're just going to have to give us more money. And then we'll screw you, but we'll paint it up in a nice little amuse-bouche. And we keep buying it. The minute we stop buying it, the minute we start recognizing our power, their bowels turn to water. But it's okay, because that pre-existing condition will be covered. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. But what happened last night? People have been saying that we got our asses handed to us. And from the perspective of progressives, yes, we did. Progressives went down to defeat. Sarah Smith in Washington. And, of course, Tim Canova. That was a heartbreaker. I actually heard on Steve Grumbine with Christian Riley. I think it was he's the one that said that, well, it happened in Florida, so we'll never know what actually happened. And that's funny. Except, comedy is usually based upon truth and usually based upon pain. So that is a very painful truth. Thank you very much. And chances are, no, we won't ever know what happened. We won't. The last time we tried to find out what happened in a Florida election with Tim Canova and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they destroyed all the evidence. No one went to prison. No one lost their job. How many people came out to vote last night? I'm going to put up for here. How many people know how many people came out to vote last night? I'm not entirely sure. I've seen several numbers, all of which, on the national level, put us anywhere between 45 and 52% turnout nationally. Some states, I think Michigan had 60% voter turnout, but nationally, I think West Virginia had like 32. Let's see, does anyone know? Yeah, Warren Mosler too. Yeah, Rob, Warren also lost. Wonder how many oligarchs have undiagnosed hoarding disorders and dysfunctionality. Yeah. How in the hell do you expect to change anything when we can't mobilize to vote? Now, the great thing about the oligarchs is that they are organized, but there's very few of them. And they use their money, their power, to be able to get politicians and the mainstream media to be able to do their bidding. So it's a relatively small segment of the population. It's easy for them to organize. Even if they're not actively organizing, meeting together in secret, they have common interest. They know how to get this shit done. There's not that many of them. It's easy for them to organize, and they have all the money, which means they have all the means to get it done. We don't have the money, and we're clearly not organized. But we got the numbers, baby. Oh, yeah. We got the numbers. So what I was saying for the last several weeks, and it didn't happen, so let's change that. We got 2 years. We got 2 years to get organized. So first things first, right now the hard work starts. Right now in your district, you need to find people that are progressive, people that can be aggressive without being dicks, people that will not take corporate money, people that will not ever do what the DCCC tells them to do. Someone who might not even pick up the goddamn phone if they should call. You want to run as a Democrat? That's fine. You want to run as an independent? You want to run as a Republican? I don't give a shit. Find the person that is actually and in all ways progressive. What do I mean by progressive? As far as I'm concerned, you can't be a progressive if you take corporate money. You can't. The purpose of government is to stand between business and the people. So if you are standing between, you are recognizing those who are powerful and don't need any help versus those who are not powerful individually and therefore do need help. Government is the place where everyone comes together, including oligarchs, but in the confines of government, we are all created equal. So we need to find people who first and foremost adhere to that tenet. In the halls of government, all are welcome, all are equal, no one is above anyone else. So that's the first thing. Second, you need to recognize that there are certain tenets of our society that are sacrosanct and cannot be made for sale. Voting. You cannot privatize the vote. I am sorry, electronic voting machines cannot be privatized. They cannot have proprietary software that is not able to be audited. In this day and age, it is no ask whatsoever to make sure that the one place we all come together to exercise our commonly held obligation and right to vote, that it should be done in a way that is transparent, that is secure, that it is accessible, easily accessible to all citizens. You cannot be progressive if you're not for that. Education, healthcare, infrastructure. These things are not for sale. All these things require trained individuals, professionals. They should all be paid. They should all be paid extremely well. But in no way, shape, or form should the implementation of these things have anything to do with profit. That means it's the federal government's job to take care of it 100%. Federally funded, locally administered. Everyone is still working for themselves. Everyone's still working for whatever business, but all the money comes from the government to pay for it. So healthcare, education, infrastructure. 100% green energy. You are not progressive if you are not for 100% green energy. If you do not believe that climate change is real, if you do not believe that man-made climate change is real, you are not progressive. It is well past time that we dicked around with this shit and took it seriously, because everything I just talked about doesn't mean anything if we don't have an environment with which we can all live. You are not progressive if you are not for these things. You are not for progressive if you are not for a federal job guarantee. The federal government, when it first created currency, created unemployment. It created poverty. So it is the responsibility of government to make sure that if it is going to use taxation, if it is going to create a dollar and then make sure that there's a tax payable only in that dollar, they have to recognize that they are the ones creating unemployment. Therefore, it is up to them. It is incumbent upon them to make sure that there is no unemployment. That the almighty dollar flows into everyone's hands at least sufficiently to be able to care for their needs. So a federal job guarantee with a living wage, a wage of dignity, so you can afford a roof over your head, nutritious food in your belly, enough money to be able to pay for your utilities. And yes, quite honestly, enough money for you to be able to entertain yourself at least modestly. And why would we do that? Are we being, overly gracious people? No. This is all about the economy. Have a job that pays a decent wage that allows you to also take part in the economy. Go to a movie. Go out to a restaurant. Buy a CD. Buy whatever is available these days. No one's going to be living in a palace as a result of this. No one's going to be living palatial lives. We're not turning everyone into royalty. But we're giving people enough money with a job to take care of society. And in return for taking care of society, you get to be able to participate in the economy, which in turn creates jobs. As Stephanie Kelton always says, capitalism runs on sales. So there needs to be sales. Someone's spending is someone else's income. When the federal government spends, that's someone's income. And when someone who earned money from the government turns around and spends it on someone else, that's their income. So there's an altruistic way to look at this. And there's also a means of saying that, well, this is how the economy functions. And we need to make sure that the economy functions. And it functions in a very dystopian, very dysfunctional manner when we institutionalize poverty, when we institutionalize unemployment. You are not progressive if you are for-profit prisons. It should be the last resort to send someone to prison. With a federally mandated job, a federal job guarantee, no more involuntary employment. No one has to do it. But if anyone that wants a job, there is a job for you. So we have just ended poverty. We could end homelessness. Single-payer health care, which includes mental health care. We have just taken care of the main causes of bankruptcy. Research and development mandated by the federal government so that we can have technology of the future, so that we can actually cure disease. We were already, just in those things, eliminated so much of the need of incarceration at all. But to send someone to prison should be a hard choice. It should be the last resort. And it should never be for profit. Just think of what we can do. Just think about the society that we can create. But 50% of us came out to vote. So right now, our job is to find progressives. Find them. Start now the process of getting them to turn around and run. It's going to be late in the game if we start looking a year from now. We got to start finding them now. Right now. You want to take a week off, post-election. I understand everyone's exhausted. I'm exhausted. But start finding people now. We need to start talking to them. We need to start getting them interested. We need to start getting a plan. Then we're going to need to start organizing our communities. We're going to need to start making sure that more and more and more people understand modern monetary theory, and understand how the federal government actually finances itself. I need you to write letters to the media corporations. I need you to write letters to your elected officials. I need you to have conversations with these people at every opportunity. I need it to be embarrassing for anyone on CNN to be able to say, well, how are you going to pay for it? I need it to be embarrassing to them. And that takes us. It's not going to happen if we don't push them, if we don't demand it. And it takes very little time. Just write a letter, send it off. Do it again next week. Send the same letter. I don't care. Just change the date on it. It's time to start changing minds. It is time to start changing the conversation. We won't have time to do it if we are late to the game again. It is too late once the election is already underway to start having those conversations. People's heads are otherwhere. You got to start now. So that when the next election comes, we've got the right person who will fight the right battles, who will be answerable to us, the people. who will have the right answers to the questions that will inevitably come their way. How are you going to pay for Medicare for all? How are you going to pay for a federal job guarantee? They'll have the right answers. Because we will have spoken to them already. We will have shown them all the articles. We will have shown them the videos. They will have had conversations with Warren Mosler and Stephanie Kelton and Bill Mitchell. These people are accessible. We need to start now. We need to start now. So that when the next election comes, we do what I had said before. If you are available, if you're eligible to vote, you vote. I don't care if you like who's on the ballot. This election, there were a lot of things wrong with the ballot in terms of who was on and who wasn't. I get that you don't like your choices out there, but vote. It matters. We're going to get to why in a second. Go vote. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but you got to go vote. You got to show up. That's your vote. Don't let anyone tell you what to do with it. And don't, in God's name, don't ever throw it away by doing nothing with it. I don't care who you vote for. That vote is valuable. People will tell you all the time, they're all too eager to tell you that your vote doesn't matter. Or that if you vote for this person, you just threw your vote away. Or a vote for this person is a vote for that person. No. Your vote, your choice, you do with it what you will. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. So go and vote. You don't like the choices? Write your own name. Write someone else's name. Write Santa Claus's name. Vote. And if you are disenfranchised, if your name has been kicked off the voter rolls, if they won't let you put a provisional ballot in, you don't have the right voter ID, show up anyway. Show up with your friends, with your family, with your communities. Show up in mass numbers. Scare the living shit out of them with how many people are coming. They will literally shit all over themselves when they see how many people come out to vote. They laugh themselves. They laugh themselves silly when they see 50%. That's easy. They can absolutely get away with anything at 50% voter turnout. Because if you won't even bother showing up to vote, they know that if they screw around, even if they piss off 50% of the population, very few of those people will do anything about it, and the other 50%, fuck it, they're not even paying attention. Everyone goes to vote. Whether you can vote or not doesn't matter. You show up. It is a sign of strength, because if we can organize to do that, we can organize to do anything. And that will scare the shit out of them. That will bring them to the bargaining table. That's what we need. And we did not have that last night. We did not have that. Let's see what people are saying here. Make them notice us. Boycott, strike, protest. Find a way to be heard. John Del Conte. Absolutely. Find a way to be heard. This is the point. Our voice is powerful. Your vote is your voice. So use it. Get outside the polling place with picket signs. Do whatever. Be seen. And it's sad and pathetic if 50 people are seen in a district of hundreds of thousands. But if hundreds of thousands come out to be seen, that's power. That is power. That is a power we have yet to exercise on a mass scale for a sustained period of time. The Women's March, I loved it. It was great. And then it went away. That's the problem. We need to be seen. We need to be heard. In addition to all the things that we do to actually organize. I realize I'm being a broken record, but now is the time to agitate for paper ballots and honest elections. Ginger Durham. Yes, Ginger, absolutely. This is all part and parcel. You cannot be progressive if you think we can privatize the elections. Do you realize that the man who won the governorship in Georgia, at the time of his running, at the time that he was a candidate, he's also the attorney general who is in charge of overseeing the election that he is a candidate of. And this was allowed. This was legal. Do you understand? There's a small difference between legal and immoral. And what is the difference? The difference between illegal and immoral is seen in the people who are sent to the halls of power to make the laws. It was absolutely immoral for someone to be running the election while being a candidate. Completely immoral. And it should have been illegal. And the only reason it's not is because people went to the halls of power to make sure that it was legal. So we need to change. We need to change. I had about 6 friends who did not vote. Mary Jane Larson. That's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. Though, for every story like that, there's a story like mine. I work with someone who's a wonderful, wonderful young kid. She's great, and she keeps saying that she's not political. She doesn't have time. She's working her ass off. She works 2 jobs and she goes to school. I don't know where she finds time to sleep. So I get what she's saying. She doesn't have time, and we have this discussion all the time. But she says that she gets all her friends to vote. She got all her friends to register, and they all voted. Actually, I didn't see her today. I don't know if they all voted, but, she got commitments from them. We just need to do more of that. It's the conversations we have, the connections that we make. We have no idea who we're ever going to reach. You talk to MMT about talk about MMT with someone, and in that conversation, they get it. But they're not a big wig. They don't work for a huge corporation. They're not going to be running for Congress. They're not going to be, they're just one of us, and we need that. But this person, who you just activated, has a conversation with 10 other people. And one of those 10 people has a conversation with another person who does come into contact with someone who's really big and influential, and they have a conversation. And now that person goes on to Twitter or goes on to Facebook, and now suddenly it's spreading like wildfire. And you started that. Don't ever underestimate the power that you have, directly and indirectly, to influence the outcome of any situation you put your mind to. Your power is limited by your imagination and your persistence. Do you have any idea how powerful that is? Probably don't. I didn't for the longest time. Stanley Cole, I am not the perfect candidate. There is no perfect candidate. If you want to find a perfect candidate, somebody you agree with 100% of the time, run for office. Tim Canova. This is the point. We need to start having these conversations now. Find the person that you do agree with. And of course, you're not going to agree with them 100% of the time. But if you all operate from the same functional financial standpoint, this is how the government finances itself. This is where the dollar comes from. This is how the government finances itself, and it's not about your tax dollars. Your tax dollars are not needed to finance anything. The government is not going broke. The government can never go broke. It can never be unable to pay its bills if those bills are denominated in its own currency. If we're having those conversations, if we are starting from that standpoint, then we are free to disagree on individual aspects of policy, because we can still move the ball forward. But if we're stuck in we can't afford it. The debt and the deficit and the private banks and then nothing happens. People are dying right, left, and center. The policies enacted by this government in Syria, in the Middle East, in South and Central America, the genocide that's happening in Yemen, the famine, that's happening in Yemen, the apartheid state in Palestine, the war atrocities in Syria, economic desperation and starvation in South and Central America, rising fascism all over the world, including in this country. These are all the result of political decisions based upon not a misunderstanding of the economic situation, because the people that make these decisions understand the situation very well, but they benefit from it. They profit from it. It maintains their power. They only get that to happen if we misunderstand the economics. So stop doing that. We need to take care of one another. This is what it is to be human. I don't care who you are. I don't care what religion you have. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I don't care. Ask me any question. I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is love. Without love, nothing has any meaning whatsoever. And it doesn't matter what you love, as long as you love something outside of yourself. You must have self-love. But love of service, love of something outside yourself, love of something greater than yourself. That can be a religion, it can be your community, it can be your kids, it can be your spouse, it can be all of these, it can be none of these. As long as you have love. And everyone does. Everyone understands and respects the power of love, even those who don't have it. Because if you don't have it, then you recognize the absence of love. And you live with that absence every day, even if you don't identify it as an absence of love. Your body understands it. Your mind, your heart, your soul understands it. We are here to take care of one another. That's the goal. That's the purpose. That's the point. And we have been fed a feast of lies designed to separate us from one another. All for the pleasure of a carefully selected few. So now, today, immediately, starts the hard work. Today, we commit ourselves to one another. Today, we will take care of one another. Today, we will look into our hearts and into our communities and find out what needs to get done. We will commit ourselves to learning how the economy actually functions. Once we recognize that the economy has been weaponized as a tool against us, the only way to fight back against that is to understand how it actually functions, so we can throw it back in their faces, so we can stand up and scream at them if necessary. No! That is not how it happens. That is not how it functions. You will not lie to us anymore. You will listen to us, you will respect us, or you're gone. That's the way it works, if we say it is. So we will take care of one another. We will learn the economy. We will start finding candidates now that will replace the neoliberals. And we will fight for policies. We will not be beholden to politicians. We will not be beholden to parties. We will not be beholden to dogma. We will find fidelity with each other. And that means policies. What policies will save our communities? What policies will bring back small-town America? What policies will eradicate poverty? What policies will see to it that everyone can have the education that they need? What policies will make sure that everyone can retire with dignity? What policies will make sure that we can still have a high standard of living and go to completely 100% green energy and industrialized farming, turn around the ravages of global warming, and make us envoys of peace and justice throughout the world, not envoys of bloodshed and tears? We can do all these things. The only thing stopping us is us. How do I know? Because only 50% of us showed up last night. And we took a beating. We took a beating. You know, I want to say, I mean, how many people have, I'm just going to take a look on here. Anyone that knows, I mean, we got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Is there anyone else out there that was elected last night that understands modern monetary theory? Because I can't think of one. I know several that were running, and everyone that I could think of all fell to defeat last night. So if anyone knows, you let me know. I would like to know, because I can't think of anyone. We need to come up with a totally new uniform, transparent, trackable, audible, web-based voting system where any and every vote can be verified, starting with a citizen voting for the candidate they voted for. We have the know-how and the technology to do it. We just need to show the political will to get it done. Okay, there's an idea right there. You know, I like ranked voting. You know, you shouldn't be able to vote for just one person. Just first choice, second choice, third choice. And as the candidates fall away that don't get 50%, you move to the second choice. And before you know it, you'll get a winner who actually has 50% or more of the population that wanted them. Maybe not their first choice, but someone they've voted for. And they can therefore vote for their favorite candidate first. I'm a huge fan of that. Ginger, we're told only 50% of us showed up. Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, again, how do we know? You know, it's very difficult to believe polls. It's very difficult to believe what we're told, because so much of the information gets filtered through people who are not on our side. So, ultimately speaking, one thing that I've always said, you've got to act like it's only going to be you. Like, you got to show up. You've got to show up. Every day you've got to show up. And you got to do it because no one else is going to. You got to believe that no one else is coming to save us but you. Not to be a narcissist or anything like that. You get into that mindset to make sure that another mindset doesn't take its place. The mindset that says, who am I? I can't possibly do this. Someone else will have to do it. You know, I just can't. No. No one else is coming. So you stand up. And as you see more and more people stand up, stay standing. Don't sit down because you see people you consider to be your betters, you know, being more worthy or having more standing. We need them. But they need you. Do not underestimate who you are. Do not underestimate your value. And if the only value you have is that as a body to make a small crowd look larger, then that's value in and of itself. You're clearly more valuable than that, and I don't even know who I'm talking to, because everyone has more value than they will allow for themselves. But if you get into the mindset that I have to do this because I can't trust that it's going to be done by someone else, then you will go and do it. And if everyone has that mindset, then everyone gets up and goes and does it. And as we all see everyone showing up, then we can all start organizing. We can all start making alliances. But it takes the belief that no one is coming to save us. No one. Not Bernie Sanders, not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. No one is coming to save us. So it's got to be you. It's got to be you. So get busy. Start a protest. Start a march. Do something. Do anything. Do everything. Think outside the box. I've put forward many ideas. Do all my ideas. Do all of yours. I don't care. Do something. Be seen. Be heard. Talk to your friends. Make sure that they come along. If we can't, guarantee how many people actually showed up last night, as was just pointed out, then make sure at the very least your house is clean. Make sure everyone that is in your house went to vote. Make sure all your friends went to vote. Make sure everyone in their house went to vote. Control what you can control. Well, I don't want to use the word control for other people, but influence what you can influence. You can't influence your entire community, but influence everyone in your house. Influence every one of your friends. Influence them as best you can. So we may not say that, 100% of, our community went out to vote, but we can say that 100% of everyone that I know went to vote. We can do that. We can't trust the media. We can't trust the politicians, can't trust the corporations. Well, we can trust each other, right? We could do that, right? Are we that far gone? I don't think we are. We got to trust each other. In the end, it's all we have left. In the end, we have each other. And if we look out for one another, if your first thought is, how can I be of service to someone else? And you inspire that in the people around you, guess what? That's a whole lot of people that now have your back. We are symbiotes with each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. And we have that with everyone. You have it with your family, with your friends, with your environment. It's all give and take. It's all love. I think I'm going to call it there. Like I said, I didn't really prepare a show. This was just a talk. Does anyone else? A new verb for being cheated at while voting by a government official. You've been kemped. Yep. I'll take that one. God. Anyway, I love you guys very much. I need you. I need you all very, very badly. I need you to start the hard work. This election cycle was brutal. The last election cycle was brutal. And I'm sorry to say, it looks like the next one's going to be brutal as well. Unless you're happy with same old, the next one's going to be brutal. Because we have to double our efforts to educate. We have to double our efforts to make sure that we get the right candidates and then get behind them for so long as they're the right candidates. We can do that. We can do that. We will, because we have to. What other choice do we have? I believe in you all. I love you all. I'm going to be back again next week. You guys have a great day. For those that have a feeling towards celebrating, feel free to do so. It was a hard-fought battle. For those who realize that we have a significantly tougher fight coming up, get some sleep tonight. We start again tomorrow. I love you guys. Good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting Real Progressives. If you like what we're doing, please like and subscribe to our various channels. If you want to help us in our fight against neoliberalism and to help create a real deal for the people of the United States, then drop us a line. Find out how you can fit in. Or be a monthly patron. No matter what you do, please get involved. We'll catch you next time.